I had owned a company, like I said, for a decade, and I still didn't believe it in myself. You don't have a hero, be the hero. If somebody can just get that out, those challenges, those struggles, if they can just say it out loud, if they can just get it out of their body, that somebody else in the room has either went through it, knows somebody that can help in a situation, or just wants to celebrate something that you're doing, right? And then you get to take the responsibility of what that leadership looks like.
Welcome to Oratory. Thank you for joining us. Today we have my friend Charli Matthews, and she is the founder and CEO of Empowering Brands and Empowering Women. And Charli has built a really interesting and I'm going to say bold platform that I feel like is redefining what leadership really looks like heavy industry. And so, having joined her last year at one of her Empowering Pumps conferences, I can absolutely attest to this. So, I'm very excited to have you today, Charli. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It is always a pleasure to talk to you. And I love kind of that, just thinking about what we've built here at Empowering. So thank you for that too.
Absolutely. My perhaps infamous leadoff question is, what's getting you excited about your work every day at this point?
I get to meet so many different people, and that is really what drives me, whether it's just connecting with them, getting to know them on a personal level, but also the industry has so much work to do too. When we know that behind the scenes, it is the people that are going to make the difference in our world, in our comfort, in all the things that we have to build and providing, right, that we have to resource and provide to other businesses and companies, and just so we can innovate and sustain ourselves. It's really exciting to know that is all leads to people and having those conversations together. So what excites me is bringing people together and really helping them communicate. Sometimes we just get too busy trying to do all the tasks that we forget to create that space to strategize and think, really just think.
I always tell my husband and my kids, I'm trying to think. And my husband laughs at that all the time because he's like, how are you not just thinking? And I'm like, because sometimes it's loud or sometimes there's all this crazy stuff going on. And so having deliberate space, and we had a meeting yesterday and you gave us time to get something done in that. And sometimes it literally just takes carving out the space to do it. And you're doing that with so many of the things that you're doing. So you're living that in all of the different ways. But let's back up a little bit and talk about empowering brands and empowering women and the origin story of that, if you would.
Yeah, so I started my career in advertising sales, and that's what led me into the pump industry. And I really did connect and really try to learn everything I could understand about the pump industry. And that led me to create my own media company. There was a lot around social media, people starting, dabbling in it. So, really being 10 years ahead of people using this, understanding its value, I could just see it so much more clearly as a resource. I sold an ad to someone in Italy for a US book, and I was like, I've got to tell everybody about LinkedIn and how to use it. And I did that more on the educational side of teaching people. But then fast forward, you're in the industry for a decade, you're part of different associations, you're trying to make a difference, trying to offer the knowledge that you've gained to other people, trying to be involved in different boards and things like that. And you receive some pushback, whether it's your own lack of confidence in these settings, or there's some actual stumbling blocks, things put in place to maybe some things that people don't even see that are causing you not to be successful. And for me, that is when I was reaching out, even just looking through my 10,000 LinkedIn connections and realizing there wasn't women in leadership in my resource area, in my connections. And I was like, I have to fix this. I need more women that I can talk to. I'm a mother. I have three children, two boys and a girl, and an entrepreneur, a person that graduated in business and finance that is now doing very much on the building relationships and social side of things. And I needed someone to help me be successful, to help me understand what leadership was. And part of that was just people telling me that I was already a leader. I had owned a company, like I said, for a decade, and I still didn't believe it in myself. So We created this space for empowering women. I like to say, personally, I needed role models, but if you don't have a hero, be the hero. And so I guess that's what we did. And we have created an amazing space for women to just be supportive of each other, but also allow our allies, so the men that are around us that have supported us, to tell us some of the things that we're missing or point to resources and support us in a way that says, hey, yeah, you're supposed to be here. We want you here. Actually, we highlight the women that are already here doing amazing things. So it's a lot of storytelling, it's a lot of resource building, but that is what I do every single day. I wake up to try to make the world better for us to work in, and that is with people and developing people and leaders based on my own experience, yes, but also just bringing people together that have way more experience than I do, that I can learn from and that others can learn from.
And like, it has to feel good also to all of a sudden have the opportunity to be with individuals across the board in all different kinds of industries that perhaps are underrepresented, and create an area for it to be safe to talk about challenges and wins and opportunities. And if you are struggling, as we all do so often, with imposter syndrome and should I be here? Am I qualified? What else do I need to do? It just, for me, I would imagine that what a fulfilling and like amazing purpose-filled scenario to be around. And I love it. I love the group, and I feel like it's just such a lovely thing to wake up and get to be able to do for others who may not have known that they needed it too.
Just creating the space for someone to be able to use their voice, whether at a round table, on a one-on-one, or on the stage. It is my biggest joy, for sure. It is just so rewarding. That is the word. It is rewarding to be able to just sit back and watch. Really, it is just so beautiful. But it is also knowing that if somebody can just get that out, those challenges, those struggles, if they can just say it out loud, if they can just get it out of their body, that somebody else in the room has either went through it, knows somebody that can help in a situation, or just wants to celebrate something that you're doing, right? So it doesn't always have to be a negative challenge. It may be a positive challenge, and then you've gotten through it and you need somebody to be excited with you. Some things may seem small to somebody, and you just need that community that realizes no matter what, we know the journey that you're on. We're going to celebrate each step with you. And so that piece is also just so beautiful to have women around. We're natural encouragers. That's the beauty of it.
I agree with you. And I think it's really funny because often I think as women or moms, we think, I'm supposed to be doing these things. And like, you don't always get the thank you, as Mother's Day is literally around the corner and we're all about to get like all the random stuff. But I think sometimes, yeah, but sometimes we anticipate that this is expected in our roles as friends, as moms, as whatever we might be wearing a hat for that day. But you're right. When you get to go and say, hey, I had a win, and everybody is really excited for you, it hits a little different than when you tell somebody who's completely unaffiliated with your industry, or a partner or spouse or somebody else, and they're like, oh, okay, good, that's great. And you're like, but I need you to be excited with me. This took so much work. And so it is so nice to sit and share those wins with people who get it, who know that you've worked your butt off to get there. So I love that you have done that. And again, in all of our meetings, you ask that. And I'm like, sometimes it takes you a minute to reflect and say, I had a win, and I want people to know about it. Because just as it's vulnerable to say things about something that's hard, it's sometimes vulnerable to actually say that you had something great happen and that you worked for it. Because sometimes we feel boastful or braggy or whatever, but let's celebrate those wins.
Absolutely. It's so important. It's hard to talk about yourself in general. Yeah, it's awkward, it's weird, but we can practice in that, and builds that confidence. I always say the highlight reel, looking for your highlight reel, and I can point that back at. If you can tell me about it, then I can point it back at you when I need to. I love the picture of me. I'm in a very male dominated industries for the last 20 years, and my highlight reel is this conference that we've created for empowering women in industry. And I'm up there in a gold dress and high heels twirling a baton. And you're like, how can I do that in the same space as my work? And I love both. I like to get
Yeah.
dirty. I like to do hands on. I like to do technical. But I also like this glowing, silly, artsy side of me too. So we
Yeah.
can all do so many different things. And I think that's another thing we do. We try to put ourselves in one little box, and we have multiple careers at the same time. We're doing so much at the same time, especially for our moms out there that we were talking about. It's like moms, entrepreneurs, even marketers in this very technical space. You're like, I don't fit it, but we do. And there's so much that we can learn and share resources to get things accomplished.
And that, I love that too, because the idea of sharing resources and being collaborative rather than competitive and saying, hey, we can all come together and figure it out and make one another better. And like you said, the idea of having your highlight reel, I feel like as a recruiter that I do a better job about talking about people that I'm working with, and you do too, right? And so give me your highlight reel. We'll figure it out. Let's talk about that. Let's get ready for an interview. Let's have these conversations. People are like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that I was like, man, I am awesome. And I'm like, obviously. So sometimes it just takes that perspective, but it's
You need
always,
that when you're trying to go for something big, right? Or a
yes.
change or something new, or you're trying to accomplish something. You need that positive energy to get you to where you need to be. Even like in a race, you've got to train and you're hitting these little milestones along the way. So there's so much there that's just the little hit of happiness that gets you to the win.
And that little hit of happiness gets you through the hard parts too, right? Because it's not all a highlight reel. Sometimes it's like you've got, I was mentioning an RFP and I'm like, oh God, this thing is going to kill me. But it's nice to have that support. So, talking about that support, you have a bunch of really cool events coming up with empowering women. So, let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I'm really excited. We're going to be back in Chicago. That's where our first event was. We are going to be at the David Rubenstein Facility Forum. It's this amazing, sustainable building, level after level of rooms and AV all included. It's really beautiful there in Chicago. But we are going to do a meetup before that in June. On June the 6th, we're going to come together and talk about kind of vision and goal setting. I think this year has been crazy, so a reset and refocus is very important for us to do and just get ready for the rest of the year. And so we're going to do that. Javi has given us their space there, right there in the Fulton Market, and it's a fun place. You can go to a restaurant around the corner. It's just fun to be down there. But gathering women together, thinking about goals. Also, Sarah Pennington is going to be doing some photography for us. I love when we can get women together, smiling, feeling themselves, if you like
Yep.
that song goes. But there's an energy that's created when we come together that we want to showcase for people. And so that'll be a fun meetup there in June. I'll be doing a couple of trade shows. I'll be in Pasadena, Texas at the end of July so that we can coordinate the Empowering Pumps and Industry Conference. It's called EPIC, and it will be
Yep.
there at San Jacinto College. That one has such excitement around industry, across industries you can think about.
Yep.
It's in everything that we do. It's vital to life. And you can see all of these different training rooms and equipment, and it just excites you about industry again. And so I love giving that to people. So we're going to go back there this year. And we are going to have an empowering women element of that. We have a woman that worked at NASA. She was a Russian translator and different things on the International Space Station. It's just a really cool lady that I'm looking forward to hearing her speak, but also different tracks, leadership tracks and technical tracks there.
So last year, you invited me to come to the EPIC conference at Colorado School of Mines, and we did the mine tour at the Edgar mine. It was just so much fun. And I have to say that all of the presenters and everybody that was there was, they were positive, they were energetic, they were knowledgeable, they seemed like they loved what they did and like the people that they were working with, and the idea of leadership through and through just was like this undercurrent. And I've been to so many conferences and listened to a lot of people talk, and often it's just a technical sort of scenario, and like I said, in this one, it was just like leadership was all the way through it. And it really did. Like I knew very little about water and pumps and other stuff. But then I was like, holy moly, I need to know more because these people are great.
Yes, and
So,
that leadership piece is intentional, right? And I
yep.
think, like we said in the beginning, getting people to talk to each other.
Yeah.
Because it is literally is a room full of leaders. There's no way that they would be in the room if they weren't. And allowing them to talk and know, hey, we've got to talk to each other across industry here so that we can get things accomplished. And so we're
Yeah.
learning. And you did a great job, by the way,
Thank you.
presenting. And so it was just wonderful to have you a part of that. And also to get excited about mining. That was the coolest facility by far. Colorado is beautiful, but being able to see, and my daughter was with me, and to this day, she is just like fascinated with all the rocks and the things that she got to take away from that experience. But that's it. That's what we're looking for to do, right?
Mm.
The leadership piece. If somebody hadn't said to me I was a leader, I never would have researched what how to become a leader, what does it mean to be a leader,
Yeah.
and that journey would look very different. So I try to start with letting people know that they are a leader already, and then you get to take the responsibility of what that leadership looks like.
And it's different for everyone. But I think something that somebody told me years ago was like, you'll never know that you can do it until you see other people doing it too, or you identify with them or find your hero or whatever. And so like now I call it see it, be it, right? And like you brought your daughter to the mine. She saw herself in there. I thought she was definitely going to turn into a geologist under Jess's sort of leadership and like,
She
and
still
getting
says
in
it.
there.
She still says it that she's the creative geologist.
I can absolutely see it. And I just loved seeing that spark happen in her. And also, y'all's hard hats were something seriously fierce. I have a pink one, but like you had the sparkles on there and
And
everything.
that
I'm
was a
like,
woman. That was a woman in industry that put the polyurethane on it and the sparkles and all. So
I love
um,
them.
that's just talent. So we see
Yeah.
so much talent in the space.
Like you said, you create these spaces, you get to know these people, and all of a sudden you get a cool hard hat. You get the opportunity to speak or have an extension of your network. And like you're creating these spaces, and I am certainly grateful for them. I want to hear a story from you if you're open or willing to share something about a moment from one of your events that made you stop and reflect and say, this is why we do this.
Yes, I can see her. She was at our conference and very timid girl that she's an engineer. And I have this story for an operator too, but this particular lady was an engineer. And I watch her not necessarily want to sit by a stranger at the table, but she does. And then we start our interaction, and there's the keynote speakers, main stage speakers, and all. And then we do breakouts. We also had a part that was part of our fashion show. And so we're wearing our hard hats and our steel boots or dresses or blazers, whatever. We're just trying to showcase what women in the industry look like. And so by the end of the day, it goes all the way till 10 p.m. I'm watching her like walk across the stage just glowing, and that not that people have to be on the stage, but to watch someone who's timid and reserved open up and step in outside of their comfort zone. Because I know that the next time that she's faced with anything challenging, she's going to know she can do hard things. She's going to know and have a little bit more confidence in herself just because she did something. I can see so many stories of people who have grown in their career after attending something like this. And yeah, that lights me up. That makes me want to just continue to have as many people in our conferences as possible to experience this. But the growth and the win, it doesn't stop at the end
Yeah.
of the conference. And being able to be in community and continually see these women and all the things that they're doing, it feeds me and encourages me to be a better person, a better business owner, etc. And it's
Yeah.
just so rewarding.
One of the things that I think about, and part of what we've talked about over and over again, is that we get to wear all of these hats, and that there are often scenarios where we want to fit in a box. And I think sometimes having the permission, having others around you, but also we talk about vulnerability. I think authenticity is another thing. And if you can get up there and spin a baton and wear a really cool dress and do all that stuff with all of your work people, like that is being authentic. You're bringing your daughter to these things. Like you're showing other people how to show up as their authentic selves rather than saying, I am an engineer and
I
I
am a
do X, Y, and
professional. I
Z.
am a
That's
professional.
right.
I
All
can
the
do.
time. And this is what I look like. And there's nothing else about them. And I think that's such a powerful thing. And something I talk about often with candidates at any level, but specifically younger people, is that tell me about your weird. Tell me about all the things that like make you, because then I remember you and I recognize that you may be an engineer or a geologist or somebody in water or pumps or whatever it might be, but that you also love horses and spicy food or whatever it is, or that you only wear tennis shoes to conferences. I don't know, but being authentic counts for so much. And like building teams and being a leader, that is like the special sauce from my perspective. And I appreciate that you're being it so other people can see it and go out and do it. But is there any trick to that? Like, how do we get people more comfortable?
Oh, I just tried to do something and include them in the activity, right? Like I always say action, right? We learn by doing. And I brought the baton back out in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, which is we have a conference every February, March timeframe. And there was a couple of new speakers. It was their first time on the stage. They were nervous and all. And so I get up there with Twirl My Baton to this song. Carly wasn't with me. She missed that conference, but she has done it. She's twirled with me. That she picked that up. Not I did not push that on her. That was picked up my 30-year-old baton and started using it. But I want you to do a skit with me. So I did that one of the October conferences. And she wasn't there. I was like, okay, I'm still going to do it. Here I go. And I did it because I wanted to say, if I can twirl a baton in front of all of you, then you can get up here and speak. You can talk, be confident in that. And I think it does make a difference. So I am putting myself on display so many times, whether it's dancing, jumping, exercise, like just doing something where people can see that, intentionally doing that. It's not because I want to be the center of attention. It is literally because I want to use myself in order to make somebody else more comfortable or have a good time, those type of things. So it's like being able to create that space of fun, allow people to play, to be creative, whether it's something artsy. It is every single piece of a conference is designed to make somebody do something, to
Yeah.
share something. So yeah, I would just say you're doing it by asking the weird question and tell me about you.
Tell me
What do
about
you
your weird.
yeah, I always ask people, what do you do for fun?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that don't have an answer to that. And that just not having an answer and making people pause and be like, oh, I really need to figure that out because I'm too busy or whatever is an action, right? It is a
Mhm.
response. And so I love that question. And it also reminds me to have a little fun as well so that I can tell people what I do for fun. We all have to work and we all have to do things that we don't like to do,
Yeah.
but let's make sure we equal that out with some fun too.
That's a very important part. And I think you're an entrepreneur and you get to wear lots of hats. And so sometimes our fun is work and sometimes our fun is the people that we get to work with. But I still have to remind myself, and I'm sure you do too, what else do I do?
Yes, we do need to take a break from work and work people.
Yes, every once in a while.
I am just back from Africa and I feel a little jet lag, so I may not have my full energy self. That mission that I go on and being able to share and escape, a lot of it is in nature. It's a beautiful space as well as a very just different. You just look around and there's so much there to appreciate your life because they have
Yeah.
very little and they're still joyful. And so finding what that is for you to refill and get you back on track so that you can be your very best at work. That's what we really
Yeah.
are trying to do.
And I don't know where I read this recently, but I've read something that said ultimately we're not taking enough like brain breaks, whether it's throughout the day or purposeful time away and off, and that it takes like roughly 3 days for people that are like really engrossed in their work to just even detach from it. And so if you take a long weekend or you take a 4 or 5 day trip, like it's not enough because you need 3 days to get into it. Then you have the meat of it, and then you're anticipating that the transition back for the last 2 days. So I was like, okay, so this article is giving me permission to take like a 10-dayer.
Yep.
Is that what I need?
But it's true. I felt myself doing that across the pond.
Yeah.
You're just, okay, now what do I got to do? It is so true that you are losing that as you're traveling back. And it's that intentional time, taking care of our energy and making sure you know your purpose and your why and what you're trying to accomplish. And if we set boundaries with that in mind, then we will take the time.
Yeah. You're leaning right into an area that I was going to ask you about. So that was a perfect segue into you also do some coaching. And I feel like this is something, and I'm going to say, I feel like you are a natural coach because it's just the level of encouragement and understanding and the space that you give people and all of that is just, that's how I know you. Let's talk about your coaching practice and how that kind of came into the picture. If it was just a natural evolution or if you were like, hey, I need to be a coach. How did that happen?
I love coaching. There's a person that told me that I'm interested, right? I'm
Oh,
always like, tell me more. I want to know your story and everything. So there, and I have empathy. There's a space in me and my strengths that people just tell me things. But as I learned and learning how to be a leader and went through my own experience with a leadership coach, I could see that I could create that space. I took a certification, kind of went through what is it like to be a coach. Part of me, I think you open this space and you allow people to talk. I also I'm going to share my opinion in there a little bit, give some
yeah.
guidance. So I'm not like a total coach where I'm just like, "Here, let me ask this question and you figure it out," which drives me crazy sometimes when people do that to me. But
Yeah.
I can open this space for people to just share. And I talk a lot, and I know that, but I also know how if I talk and I share something about myself,
Yeah.
it allows people to open up and do that too. So, from as many Zoom calls as I've been on since 2020, I have realized that I can pull people out of their shell, even on a Zoom screen, to allow them to share. And there's little techniques and tricks or whatever, but just really asking them a question and being quiet and allowing them to talk. It's huge. But being a coach, I almost feel like there's a maybe a personal problem in a business setting that you're trying to accomplish a goal, but there's something personal that's getting in your way. And so I actually want to continue to develop that. And I think that there's different certifications out there, certificate programs and things around counseling or mental health, or because there's so much there. There was that for me that was holding
Yeah.
me back in my confidence in my ability to read a script. I was telling myself I couldn't read. How would you get to that if you didn't spend some time talking about your life? There would be no way to pinpoint what that was or have the emotional intelligence to know, okay, let me just pay attention to my body when I'm upset, and
Yeah.
then we can get to the root of the problem. So, just going through that and seeing how it transformed me,
Yeah.
I want to do that for other people because if there is something that is upsetting you all the time and you don't know that it's happening, you don't know that there's these little whispers in your ear telling you this, then you can't move forward like you could. It's just going to be harder to accomplish the things that you want versus if you just spent some time with the coach and talk through it. So I love being able to be that person. I would do it every day, all day, if there was a way to do that. But I think that we've tied in our leadership coaching within the Empowering Women Network. I tried to determine whether that's the right way to go versus kind of Charli leadership coach or whatever.
Yeah.
And there is just no disconnection between me and empowering women. It's one and the same. You'll see, just continue to see growth in that area and different resources that I give.
And I think, I don't know, having the lens of the mining industry for as long as I have and broadening out into other heavy industry, etc., I think part of what I'm recognizing is that we're evolving and that there's a huge demand, and that often we have a lot of technical people in all the areas that you and I are talking about and trying to support that aren't naturally leaders or don't want to be leaders. And so like sometimes we ask a technical person or they advance to a specific part of their career and they're rewarded with a group of employees that perhaps they were like, I just want to be a technical person. I don't necessarily want that. And perhaps they do have that side of them where they could be leaders. But I think coaching is like such an amazing answer to that. One, to understand yourself, and two, to figure out if you can rise to the occasion and you want to, like how to accelerate that learning curve a little bit. And so I imagine that's probably something that you see in your
Oh,
practice really
100%.
often.
Absolutely. First of all, you got to want that. You got to
Yep.
decide, are you doing it because somebody told you to do it, or did you
Yep.
actually want to do it? And then if you do want to do it, oh, what skills do I need to
Yep.
make this successful? But it does start with what we want to do from
Yep.
across we talk about work-life balance and all that. You can have that stuff if you're doing what you want to do. If you are making that decision, it doesn't feel weird or stressful or all those things if you're like, yeah, that's what I want to do. Let's go figure out how to do it. Even in the most challenging spaces, it doesn't feel like the world's against you, if you will, because you're doing something that you want to do. Diving in and encouraging people to get to know themselves, there's nothing better.
And we don't always do that for ourselves. And so I think that guided scenario with a coach, like for me specifically, it accelerates it. And so we use coaches in all facets of our life. And so I love talking to coaches. I love learning from them. Like I could spend the rest of my life being coached.
Not everybody has that love for it. So sometimes it's a trick almost, right? They're in a conference and then they get a little dose of leadership
Yeah.
coaching, right? And so it's not that I have to make this huge commitment
Yeah.
and time that I'm going to be coached. We should all do that. But if we could all look at the times that we're together, whether it's a sales training, any event, we go to so many events, so many moments where when people are together, if we just put that little leadership hat on for just a minute and give them a nugget of leadership knowledge, then they're going to want more of that. And if they are faced, like you said, just saying, hey, are you now an engineer that has to manage people? Tell me more about how to do that successfully. They're just like, yes, I need more because they are achievers, right? And
Yeah.
they want to create and generate success for whatever they do. So, yeah, now give me the tool. Then they'll go into the line of leadership coaching and valuing their self and their time enough to get that. So, it's a little fun to create conferences to sprinkle those things in there sometimes when it's not directly a leadership conference.
And I think you do a really good job of that from what I can see. But I want to talk a little bit more about the conferences because I feel like they're different. And I know that's by design. I've been to trade shows, I've been to leadership conferences, and I haven't been to all of your conferences yet. What is different? Like by design, and what can somebody expect if they're like, man, I just need to find myself in Chicago in November? What does it really look and feel like?
Okay, so let's talk about empowering women,
Yeah.
right? That's the one that I've been doing the longest. This will be 7 years. And literally, we are bringing people together with the mindset of educating, inspiring, celebration, right? And so the part about connecting people together, sometimes you're going to sit by somebody, sometimes you're not. But the biggest thing is that it is a space that makes you feel something, okay? And with Empowering Women, there's going to be some glamour in there. There's going to be some conference breakout room. There's going to be some engagement. There's going to be some on your own time. There's going to be a craft of some kind. There's going to be the acknowledgement that these are powerful women in industry getting together. These women do amazing things. So getting to know their stories, like you said with the See It Be, it is there. So you have your keynotes, you have your storytelling, you have panels, you have, let me present a challenge that was overcome. You have hearing from our ally panel, where the men that are there that can learn from us, like what the struggles are, and then speak to it. So creating that space for that. And I think that women really like that, to be supported by their male
Yeah.
colleagues and being able to see that. And there, you see more and more of that because they celebrate that. But then we kind of shift gears, right? After we've learned everything, we take a break, ponder it, and then we get together and be social and celebrate through the kind of cocktail or mocktail hour of picture taking and networking. And then our award ceremony, where we are celebrating across industry, engineer, operator, sales, marketer, emerging leader, seasoned professional, and just shining a light on these women and celebrating everyone that was nominated. And so we do that before, during, and after the conference. We take photos and we take videos so that we can continue to showcase this online, that women are here in industry, they're doing amazing things. Oh, and yes, by the way, we need to improve our confidence. We need to learn how to do critical conversations. We need to know what the P&L is all about. And can somebody please help us with our personal finances along the way too, right? There's
Yeah.
so much learning there. But at the end of the day, I want you to meet somebody that you either click with, that you can serve or help in business, that you can celebrate, that you can connect with one of your friends that you know they're going to be able to help. And so that connect piece is always there. Now, I did that conference for empowering women and I thought, okay, I know how to do this. And then I started Epic for the pump industry. I've been in the pump industry 20 years and I love it. I love it because like we've talked about, it cuts across industry. They're vital to life. We need the resources in the ground. We need the water from the skies, and we need to be able to use all of that to create and innovate because we've got some huge challenges
Yes, we do.
appearing, and we need to be able to talk through that. And so creating it is modeled by the empowering women, where you have your round tables so that people can interact with each other all throughout the day. You have keynotes. Let's sit and listen to someone speak to us, but also have the breakouts where we're very engaged and intentional about what we're wanting to learn. And then you can't have a pumps conference without having some type of equipment, engaging with it hands on. And the difference in what we are doing of bringing industry together with some of this outside of a trade show, it is more of a conference, is that we want those emerging leaders. We want the students. Even this year, we're talking about bringing some of the younger middle schoolers in because we want them to see how amazing industry is. We want
Yeah.
those jobs filled because people know what they are. And we just need that. We need someone from tech to decide to come help the pump industry, the water industry,
Mm.
mining industry. And so it's about bringing the workforce together with industry and talking to each other and inspiring each other so that we can have this group and community to get things done, honestly.
And again, I certainly saw it, and I left your conference, the Epic conference last year, with several new connections. A coach, somebody whose son came to me and needed some resume help and wanted to be a geologist. And I have to call Vince out a little bit because I shared a story with him as we were going to the Edgar mine, and it was not part of my presentation. And then he raises his hand at the end of it and was like, "Hey, you told me this really cool story," and made me then go into it. And I was like, it was a really good story to add, but he saw that and he empowered me to be able to share something like that. And I was really grateful because it made me think about my delivery and what I was doing differently, but also felt very supported in doing so. There were so many standout moments for me in just those very quick 2 days, but I enjoyed it. I thought that the people were fantastic. And the undercurrent, as I mentioned, just of the idea of leadership and sharing and being a resource base for one another was absolutely there. And you've got me sold on
Well,
it.
that's what we're doing. We're developing leaders, right? We're connecting an emerging leader with a seasoned or professional.
Yeah.
And it's like a mentoring program that's not formalized. We all need that. We all need that across the board. And
And I
permission
love the idea. Our cool stories, our weird stories, our little wins. I think that also just bringing in kids and students to something like this is so impactful because taking them to a trade show or taking them to just see something, that just doesn't quite hit the same way. But when people are there and being authentic and vulnerable and open and collaborative, I think that gives them the why and the purpose and the value behind all of it. It's so, for me, abundantly clear to see why you do what you do. But like when people see that, then they can do it too. And so I'm grateful that you give us all that permission and create these spaces to make it happen.
you just filled me up so I can finish anything today.
And we're
So
done.
I feel so much better. My jet lag is gone. Everything is good.
Yay!
So thank you for that. But yeah,
Wow.
that's what we're trying to accomplish every day.
It's true. I will link all of your stuff here. We will have links to your website and conferences, and if it's okay with you, your LinkedIn, so people can connect more directly. Is there any sort of parting words of advice or Charlie bits that you want to share with our listeners today?
I think just mentioning that I am accessible, right? Like I have always connected with people that share the reason why to connect and all of that, because that's who I want to be. I want to be like at the conference. If I see a moment like we missed something, I'm going to add it, which is so great about that versus, hey, we're on a strict timeline here. We're going to have to follow everything just exactly like it is versus allowing for space for those little moments. Those you can see it. You can see two people engaging on the matter or something like that. And so I would like to say to everyone, I am available to connect, to have a one-to-one conversation, and I love doing that. If it is something that you want to do, don't hesitate. If you have something on your mind or you just don't even know what it is and you just said, I feel like I need to just talk to Charli, then let's set up a Zoom call and make that happen. If you're ever in Alabama, Tuscaloosa, I drink tea, but know a lot of coffee that serve tea. And so I think that's it. It's like, I am really this lady who just wants to talk to somebody, to connect someone, and to celebrate what they're doing. And so just know that about me. And if you have a challenge or a celebration that you want to share, then let's do it, because I know that there's somebody that needs to know you that I have met in all of these thousands and thousands of connections I've made. Beauty of social media.
The beauty of social media, it's true. And I appreciate all of that so much about you, that you are just such a kind and generous connector of people without expectation. So thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. I've had such a fun day.
It has been a really good time. Thank you for joining us. We can do this anytime.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Okay.